Hi, this is PG of PG's Lumacy. In this tutorial, we will be making the baby Jesus figure and the manger for the Rainbow Loom Nativity Series. Let's start by making the baby Jesus figure. For the head or the face, we will be using 4 light peach colored bands. And we will place those on the topmost center pins on the loom. The loom is in a standard offset configuration with the arrow pointing downwards. And then a single white band will be placed from this pin to the center pin. And let's do that on the other side as well. And then a single band is placed next on these 2 pins. Let's do that on the other side as well. Now, let's place 2 bands on these center pins. Okay, that is 2 bands on these center pins. Now, going back to single bands, we place them in a diagonal from this pin to that pin, and let us do that on the other side. So I don't want you to be confused, so let us review what we've done so far. We placed 4 light peach colored bands and then single bands that form a hexagon around the center bands, and then 2 bands for the center pins below the light peach colored bands. So these are all singles, and these are 4 bands, and these are 2 bands, just to avoid any confusion. And then going to the body of the figure, we get 2 white bands and place them on those center pins, and then 2 white bands in a diagonal from this pin to that pin. 2 bands on the next pins, 2 bands on the next pin, and then 2 bands on these 2 pins, and 2 bands from this pin to this center pin. Again, these are all double bands or 2 bands put together. Sorry about that. Placed in this layout. And lastly, we are going to cap the bottom bands with a single white band that will be wrapped 3 times on this pin. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that is the layout for the baby Jesus. Let us now loop the bands. Starting from the bottom, going upwards, we grab the double bands on top. In this case, it is these bands, and loop to the forward pin. And we grab the next bands. You might want to hold on to the capping band so it doesn't snap off, and then loop those double bands to this forward pin. Let's move on to the next. We loop them. Loop them. And then we are going towards this pin over here. Okay, and then we're working on these side bands. These are single bands, and this is the one on top, so we'll go for it first. And we'll go for this band. And then for the center bands. Okay, and then we go for bands on the sides. And there's one thing that I wanted to do for this. When I loop these bands, I want these white ones to be on top. So what I do is I get them off that pin for a while and just, you know, let them lay there for a while, and then I will loop these 4 peach colored bands to this center pin, and then I will return this single band and this single band on the other side to the center pin, and I will loop them. Okay, there is a reason for that we will see when we fine-tune and finish this project. I mean. And then we secure those top loops with a single band. We insert the hook into those top loops and secure them with that single band, and we tie that knot, hold on to it, and then we take the entire piece of the loom. Okay, this is the piece that we got off the loom. Sure, the band that is securing them is knotted tightly. Then this is the reason why we wanted these white bands to be on top, because they will be the head covering for the figure. I did not want them to be hidden in these layers of light peach bands. So when we fine-tune, they're going to be showing, and they're going to be kind of like a bonnet for the baby Jesus. It doesn't need a lot of tweaking. It's only a small piece, and that is the baby Jesus figure for our Nativity series. Let us now work on the manger. I will be using the original caramel colored bands from Rainbow Loom, and all the bands that we will be placing will be double bands. Let's start by making 4 rows of bands in the center. That's 4. And then 5 rows of bands, double bands on one side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now let us do that for the other side. And we will cap this entire piece with a cap band on this pin, and we will wrap that 3 times onto this pin. 1, 2, and 3. That is the main body for the manger. And now let us work on the legs for the manger. For the legs of the manger, again, we will be using double caramel colored bands, and we will be using the pins that we did not use for the body of the manger, and we'll be placing these double bands on these 2 pins, and then place another 2 bands on the next pins, and then cap those bands with a cap band looped 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Since there are a lot of unused pins on the loom for the manger, you could lay out all 4 legs on it and just loop them one at a time and attach them to the main body of the manger. I have laid out all 4 legs for the manger, and now I will loop those legs. I will grab the double bands underneath the cap band and loop to the forward pin, and then loop the next bands to the forward pin until we get this layout. Let's do that for the other legs. Okay, so our legs are now ready for attaching to the main body of the manger. So what you do is you pull each leg from the loom, and then you will attach them to these pins on the corners. So let's attach the first one. Okay, let's do that for the other legs. Now the legs of the manger are attached. We will now be placing horizontal bands on the main body to hold it together and to define its shape. We will be placing single bands on this row of pins, and then another single band on this row of pins. Now let us loop the bands for the manger. We will grab the first pair of bands on top. In this case it is these bands. So going into the cap band, we grab the first two on top and then loop that to the forward pin. I'm holding on to the cap band so it will stay in place. Then the next one is this pair of bands. And the last one is the one in the center. Okay, and we will loop the bands. When we get to the top, we will just loop and do the okay, and then we will secure these top loops with a single band, same color. We insert the hook onto those loops, and we get a single band through those loops. We make a knot and then secure, and then we get the entire piece of the loom. Make sure this band is firmly secured. Pull out the legs. Okay, and then we will fold them down. The way to do that will be to pull this band outwards, and it will fold the legs downwards. Let's do that on the other side. You pull these bands that are holding the leg outwards, and it will fold the leg downwards, like so. Let's do that on this other side. Just pull the bands outwards, and the legs will form and fold downwards. Okay, so our legs are now pointing downwards. We stretch the loom a bit. This band, you could tuck it in. I'll be using a fine crochet hook and just tuck it in the underside of the manger. I'll do that as many times as needed to secure it so it doesn't show. Okay. And because you're working with rubber bands, sometimes they can be unruly, so you just have to keep on, you know, working on them until you get them to where they wanna be. Okay, that is the the manger piece. Now let us add hay to our manger. To do that, let's take 5 of these beige colored bands. And then we get a single band and we tie the 5 bands with the single band, and we tie it securely to form this. And then we cut the 5 bands make sure they are tied securely. Let's make another one. 5 bands we will tie with a single band. We will tie them together by forming a knot with a single band. Make sure it's secure. And then we cut them up. Then we go to the underside of the manger, insert a hook. It comes out the top side, and then you get the band that is securing the hay pieces, and then pull it into the manger until it comes out on the underside. Okay, and for the next one, if the first one you put is already on this side, the second one you put is going to be on this side, so it will look like the manger is full of hay and not just having the hay bunched in the middle. So like we did in the first bunch, you insert a hook from the underside, comes out the top side, and then you get the band that is securing the hay pieces together and pull it into the crib, the manger, and then get it out on the underside again. Okay, now let us lay the baby Jesus figure on the manger, on the hay in the manger. First we tuck in this band into this these middle bands here. Probably this one. Get several white bands, and then you pull that loop on the top into them. Until you get this. You're going to need this to attach the baby Jesus to the manger. So we go again to the underside of the crib. You insert the hook somewhere in the middle, comes out the top side. You get the band that is securing the baby Jesus piece, pull it into the manger and out the underside. So now you will have 3 loops, two from the hay pieces and one from the baby Jesus figure, and we will secure those loops with a C-clip. So just secure that. These pieces, you might want to tie a knot with them. Secure them further, maybe a double knot, and then the ends, so that they don't get undone, we secure with the C-clip. I use tweezers for this because my fingers are too big to handle these small bands. Okay. Okay, so our end loops from the hay and from the baby Jesus are secured with the C-clip. And now we just fine-tune the entire piece. You don't want the hay pointing upwards, so what you do is all the hay that is pointing upwards, there's not a lot, just pull it and, you know, like there you go. And then you even out the distribution of the hay. Okay. You don't want these pieces to be doing like this. They kind of look like snakes attacking the baby Jesus. So you just fold them downwards. Sometimes you might need to tuck them into the manger itself. Just make sure they're curving downwards and not upwards. Then reposition the legs again. Like I said, they could be unruly. And that is our baby Jesus in a manger.